Good afternoon. We are live. I've got Steve there, and I'm going to play him a little song. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little boys, it's on my doorstep, singing sweet song. A melody's pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. There we go. That's all we're doing, because this show's about you, Steve, not the song.
Very good.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for choosing such a good, fun, happy song.
Nice, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you choose that song, Steve?
It's one of those songs that just makes me feel calm when I hear it.
Good.
It's kind of the whole Jamaican slow pace. Feels like you can breathe out when you, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess that's perfect because of what you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Yeah, so I'd probably describe myself as the world's least likely mindfulness teacher. I found myself doing this thing, teaching mindfulness in business. I never set out to do it, actually. But here we are. I guess my long story in a very condensed version is I joined IBM when I was a kid, 18, worked there my entire career. And after 20 years of about working there, so 10 years ago, I started feeling the pressure, the strain of stuff. Sleep got bad, anxiety levels were high. I needed something. Somebody suggested, hey, mindfulness, meant to be amazing. And I told them exactly where they could put their books, their phones. Well, it's not for me. It just sounds just so new age. So, do you know what I mean? Anyway, I did, long story short, I did try it, and it just was the most incredible thing. Just tiny things at first. It wasn't like a massive shift overnight, but there was enough to make me really interested. I started practicing myself, didn't tell a soul. Other people at work, IBM, came to me after a little while and said, what are you doing? Because we've noticed a difference in you. And when I told them, they said, can you teach us? It led me to the University of Oxford to study how to teach this stuff. I bought an 8-week program back into IBM and started teaching that. And it was wildly successful. So when I left IBM 2 years ago, I thought now's my chance to do this for real, to follow my passion. And it's probably the only thing I've been so passionate about, I'd say.
No, that's awesome. So when you first started at IBM as an 18-year-old, what did you think your life would be then? Because that must be a really, all your friends were going, oh my God, a job at IBM. Your parents must have been going, oh my God, my boy's going to IBM. Yeah, that's really good. So what, at 18, what did you think your life would be?
Do you know what? It's funny because I didn't know, because it's going to sound funny, but I almost fell into that by accident. So I was at school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was at school. It was a rainy day. I was in the careers.
Was anyone at 18?
Well, yeah. But I found, so there was a leaflet in the careers office, literally. And I was in, there was a rainy day, lunchtime, and it said, if you've got an aptitude for an interest in computing, come and join IBM. They were literally down the road, and I'm lazy.
Okay.
But the thing that hooked me was they said, we're going to pay you, right? So my salary in 1992 was the huge sum of £7,440. King's ransom, so an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So I left. There were no university fees then. So they paid for my books and they gave me a salary. Of course, the deal was that I had to work for them full time. So I did a 4-year course in 3 years, but it was a lot of fun. But I joined by accident and I stayed 28 years.
Fantastic. But it's only in the latter years you actually were doing stuff that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I did enjoy my IBM career. I enjoyed the technical stuff, but I didn't realize how passionate I could be about something until I started helping people, as corny as that may sound.
No, I don't know. I really don't think that's corny at all. I think you find a purpose, don't you? You found a purpose now. So you've drunk the Kool-Aid and you think, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Everybody else should be doing it. And this is exactly what I'm like with LinkedIn. I just love LinkedIn.
Right.
And I'm just trying to do exactly. Why don't you love LinkedIn? It's like when you talk to I don't know, new parents. Oh, you want to have a baby? They're brilliant. Or people who've got a dog. Why don't you like dogs? Dogs are awesome. And until you actually drink the Kool-Aid, you don't really know. Do you know Kevin?
Kevin.
I think he used to work at IBM as well.
Oh,
so surely,
no, I don't think so.
Surely you should know him.
That's what everyone says, right? I used to go when I was in IBM Portsmouth. That is prime. I think there's probably about 5,000 people there.
Right.
So you meet people randomly and they go, "Do you know John from IBM?" You must do. He works at IBM. I was like, "There's a lot of people there."
It's like when you bump into someone in a foreign land, okay, and they go, "Oh, do you know Ashley?"
Yeah.
Hilarious. Anyway, we're here to talk a little bit about LinkedIn as well. So we'll come back to all this mindfulness stuff. But first of all, I just want to know a little bit about what you're doing on LinkedIn. Why you like it.
So yeah, I started off hating it. Honestly, I started off. I don't know when LinkedIn first was a thing.
Maybe 20 years ago.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so I must have joined around then, right? Because I remember creating a profile. I remember people talking about it. I thought, I'll create a profile. And I went on and I created a profile and I looked at it and I thought, my God, this is boring. This is full of really boring people saying boring things. And I never touched it again for years and years. Oh, okay, so Kevin was down the road in Hursley. That's not too far at all. Yeah, I was in Portsmouth. But when I started working for myself, when I started doing the whole mindfulness thing, I revisited LinkedIn. So that was 2 years ago. I've only probably started using it in anger for the last 9 months, I'd say.
You mustn't use it when you're angry. Mindfulness guy, you should know better than that.
And it's brilliant, right? I love it. I do genuinely love LinkedIn. I love the community on there. I love the people. I love how much free stuff people give away. And it's just a great place to be. It's the only social networking I use. It doesn't feel like social networking to me because social networking conjures up bad images for me. But it's a great place to learn and develop and showcase what you can do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. How long do you reckon you spend on LinkedIn in a given week?
That's going to be a scary answer. I was reading a post on LinkedIn today that talked exactly about this, and I was thinking, I must spend. I reckon a conservative estimate is about 14 hours a week.
Oh, that's quite a bit.
Yeah,
that's quite a bit. Do you get business as a result of what you do on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Well, then that's 14 hours well spent, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, absolutely. There was quite a runway to that. I didn't get stuff. Stuff didn't happen overnight. I don't think.
Really? I thought if you just went on LinkedIn, it happens immediately. And this is the thing, isn't it, Steve? And this is like absolutely everything in life. Okay. But you talked about mindfulness. All right. You talked. You were stressed out and whatever, and someone said, "Oh, do mindfulness."
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't sort of like do mindfulness and then were better straight away, or had a better outlook, or what however you want to, whatever the language is there. You tried that, and that made you feel, oh, that's good. And then you tried this, that didn't work, but then you tried something else. So from where you were to where you ended up, what was the period of time then from when you sort of like first scratched the surface of mindfulness and then sort of like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, How long would you say that period was?
So interesting. It depends how closely I was paying attention to things, because I noticed funny little things happening to me. For example, I'd be slightly less irritated by an email that would have triggered me quickly before. I noticed I was sleeping slightly better. There were tiny increments, tiny percentages, little 0.5%, 1%. But funny one, I stopped biting my nails. Right? I used to chew my nails.
Wow.
And I just stopped doing it. And it's because I wasn't so anxious about stuff. I wasn't constantly kind of fretting and biting. I've never been a smoker, so my kind of outlet for nerves was my nails probably. So lots of tiny little things. I can remember driving into the office one day at Portsmouth, and I kept them like this. And there's a lake around there, it's a nice building. There's fish in this sort of stream. And I can remember walking in one day. I've been meditating for a little while. I remember thinking, where did these birds come from? I can hear beautiful bird song. And as I walked over the bridge, I remember thinking, who put these fish in here? And the answer to both those questions were, the birds have always been here, the fish have always been here. You've been so in automatic pilot, you've been so in work mode. When you pull into that car park and get out, you're already in the office, not in body, but...
No, I get it. I get it.
So it kind of opened up this whole new world to me that I was walking around in a constant, if you could draw it as a cartoon, it was almost like a constantly thinking, not brilliant, amazing thoughts, but just constantly in the next moment.
Not with us.
Yeah, it's like I was totally not present. Yeah.
So is this where the phrase comes from? Wake up and smell the coffee.
Possibly.
Because you weren't seeing you weren't hearing the birds, you weren't seeing the fish.
Yeah,
maybe you wasn't even smelling the coffee.
Yeah, certainly stopping and smelling the roses is true.
Yeah, wow.
And we all use these expressions, right? These kind of colloquial expressions, but there's normally a deep truth behind them, I think.
Yeah. So, what was the first thing you did then with your mindfulness?
Didn't tell anyone. Too embarrassed. I thought it made me weak. I thought it made me.
When was this?
This would have been 10 years ago.
Okay, because if you talk about it today, everyone's going, "Oh, that's brilliant. How can I do it?"
Yeah,
but 10 years ago, you are a weird.
Exactly. Yeah. Apologies if I don't know. It's just started thundering here. I don't know if it's coming through on my mic, but dramatic sound effects in the background.
Awesome.
Yeah, 10 years ago there was a different attitude. I think there wasn't so much science. I mean, there's very compelling science now, and the last decade of science has been astronomical, the growth of it. But back then it was still a bit, really, you're a bit of a tree hugger, or you sit and cross-leg and burn stuff, and I guess that was the one thing I wanted to prove, right? When I went to University of Oxford to learn this stuff, I wanted to take what looked like this incredible thing that was actually approved by the NHS for treatment with depression. And, it was taken seriously by mainstream medicine and science. But I wanted to see if it would work in a real workplace. I wanted to see if it would translate. I wanted to see if it would work for people, right? Because people are busy. They haven't got time to sit around meditating.
Well, that's the biggest thing. That I can't think who said it. You would probably know. But, when you're really, really busy, what are you going to, I can't think who it was, but they said to me, you're really, really busy. So, how are you going to fit in your meditation? I'm going to meditate twice as long today.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Who said that?
It's an ancient Zen saying. I don't know if it's attributed to a specific person, but the saying goes, if you don't have time to meditate for 10 minutes, go and meditate for 20.
Yeah.
And it's not to be taken literally, right? What it's saying is that don't believe your mind when it says that you don't have time for this, or that it's not going to help you. In the same way that if I'm sitting, let's forget mindfulness for a second. If I'm sitting at my desk, right, and I've done 3 hours work and I'm getting restless and I need a break, and I think, do you know what, if I went to the gym and or went for a run or whatever, I know from past experience, I'm going to come back, I'm going to feel better. I'm probably going to be more creative, more innovative. I'm probably going to make better decisions, blah, 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 right? Because that doesn't stop my mind saying, no, not today, Steve. We're too busy for that crap. We're too busy. Stay there, plow through, get it done. But that Zen saying is saying, don't believe your mind in that moment. When your mind comes up with this thought, this impulse to say, no, grind it through, sit there, don't take any breaks, don't step away. You're too busy for that. That's probably the time you really do need to step away. And if you step away and come back, the time you spent stepping away will probably be paid back to you several times, because you will come back and progress more and not procrastinate as much and make a better decision. And, the light bulb might go on when you're out running and think, that's what I needed to do for that thing.
So let's go back to 10, 11 years, however many years ago it was. Steve biting his nails. He was irritable. What was that guy like? Describe to us what that guy was like.
Looked very calm on the surface, but wasn't calm underneath, I'd say.
Okay.
So
what sort of role were you doing? Were you in a management role or something?
No, I was a sort of senior technical role. So I was doing all technical stuff, solving problems for clients, putting solutions in for clients, and then supporting the systems. I got involved when mobile phones and tablets and everything came out. I was in the team that sort of created solutions for customers that would allow them to do their day job on the go, basically.
Right. So okay. So a lot of pressure.
Email on there. Yeah. I mean, I felt it after a while, and what I was constantly going through at IBM, which I don't think I really appreciated the stress of until I left. I actually survived 13 rounds of redundancy before I lost my job. So in the last decade, in fact, coincides right with me starting mindfulness. in that last decade of me being at IBM, I went through 13 rounds of redundancy, 13 times where they ranked everybody, where they draw a line and say, sorry, but you're leaving. And that, although you sort of tune out to that after a little bit because it's so regular, it's a pretty heavy thing to carry, even if you don't feel it. It's like a bag of shopping, right? You pick it up and it's like, oh, that's all right. You walk for 2 miles with it and suddenly it's your arm's hanging off.
Yeah, heaviest shopping in the world.
Yeah. So I think it was probably a lot of things, but I was just yearning. The way I describe it actually is I was trying to get back to something. I was trying to get back. You know, when you're a kid and you've got a care in the world and you're climbing trees and you're kicking the ball around, you're doing whatever you love to do, right? And your only problem is you got to be home before dinner time, or you got to be home before it gets dark. And so I knew that I could feel like that, but I felt like there were these sort of heavy layers of life on top of it. The ones that if I pulled them away or could allow them to fall away, there'd be peace again underneath there, but there was just stuff covering it up. And then I wanted to find a way to pull those layers off rather than just either pretend that nothing was happening or sort of take medication, which I thought would probably numb me, I suppose, a bit rather than really look at what was going on.
So you started doing your mindfulness and people started seeing this happy guy that stopped and listened to birds, a guy that stopped and smelt the roses and looked at the fish. And they started, what are you doing? Can we have some? Is that how the conversation went?
Yeah, literally. I mean, let me make a huge caveat here, right? I'm not the world's greatest meditator. I'm not the world's greatest anything. My life isn't perfect. I'm just a better version of what I was. Yeah. And that's all I say to people. If anybody I work with in business, this isn't about turning you into a perfect meditator, somebody who jumps out of bed and cartwheels down the road and having some Pollyanna fake positive existence that you pretend every day is brilliant when it's blinking not. But what it is about is building your resilience and having ways of bouncing back probably more quickly, about dealing with the inevitable life stuff that's going to come your way. But yeah, what happened was people literally, I always think of these 4 words changing my life. Can you teach us, is what they said to us, what they said to me.
I like that.
I said no to start with, right? Because this is serious stuff. You don't just teach people mindfulness on a wing and a prayer. It's kind of, if you do it ethically, you've got to train properly and you've got to understand what you're getting into and what you're dealing with and how to help people. And so although when they first asked me, I said no. I had to say no because I wasn't trained to do it. But I literally came home, I opened the laptop one night and I Googled, where's the best place to learn to teach mindfulness in England? And I thought, I'll go wherever it is. I don't want to get on a plane, that's too far, but I can manage this. I can take days off work and I can go. And what came up was the University of Oxford. They've got this great mindfulness centre there. There's some incredible teachers. And I thought, right, it's 2.5 hours. I'm in Portsmouth, along to Winchester, up on the train. I can do that. I can get there. And off I went. And I would sit and I would be... This other huge thing came out when I was at Oxford, actually. I had huge imposter syndrome, right? So I'd get there. I'd be sitting in these incredible buildings like St. Hugh's College. And there's photos of...
With all these clever people.
Exactly. People
what am I doing here?
Yeah, exactly that. Right. So I'm looking around the room thinking, I've read your book. You're an incredibly, you've published 15 studies that are renowned, and I had all this stuff and I would sit there thinking, who the hell am I? Right. But they were really supportive. They when they asked me what my mission was, I said, I want to bring this into IBM and see, can we translate it so that it's so secular, so manageable, so easy to digest for people that they can not only incorporate it into their day now when they're stressed and busy and haven't even got time for a lunch break, but that they're going to try it for long enough that it works. And I felt a bit like the guy, if you go back, don't even have to go back that far. If you go back to the 1940s, right, which is my dad, I'm almost 50, it's my dad's, probably not my dad's generation, but he was born in the 40s. It's not that long ago, right, 1940s. If I went running, if this was the 1940s LinkedIn Live, Ashley, and you said to me on camera, first question, what have you done this morning, Steve? And I said, I went running. Your next question would probably have been in the 1940s, who was chasing you?
Yeah.
The concept of running for fitness in the 40s didn't exist.
Well, that was it Back to the Future when he went back to 1950? That was the second one, and it was sort of like, why are you running?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hilarious, isn't it? But
Yeah.
you can't go out for a walk now without bumping into a runner.
Absolutely, right. I mean, if you asked me now, I went running, you'd be like, "Oh, great, fantastic. Where'd you run? And did you do that?"
I wish I could do that. Yeah.
So I'm encouraged, right? Because I think the younger generations, that as they come in through, they're more open to mindfulness. They don't see it as this weird thing that if you do your week or you need help or they just see it as a gym for the mind. It's kind of a crude analogy, but you're looking after your physical health in the gym and you're eating all right and you're not smoking, you're not drinking too much. Okay, what about your mind? Well, yeah, let's do that bit as well, right? Because mind to body connection and everything else is pretty important.
So we're supposed to be 15 minutes. We've already gone over.
Yeah.
We will be finished by 1 o'clock. But what sort of things could I be doing to be more mindful?
Right. So I always
when I say I mean everyone that's watching.
Yeah. So mindfulness, the bigger part of mindfulness for me is about inviting mini moments into your day. And I want to say this really quickly so that everybody picks up on it maybe. I want everybody to think back to any time in their life, your life, where you felt either deeply peaceful, just a real sense of, life's good just for 2 seconds, or you felt intensely alive. Maybe you're skiing, climbing something. Maybe you're playing music. Maybe you're listening to music.
Stood on stage with your guitar in your hand with a load of people singing along to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. And what people will notice is that the most beautiful moments in their life, they always coincide with the mind being still. Sometimes that still mind is only half a second, a nanosecond. When you notice something really beautiful, the sunset, and your jaw drops, your mind's still for a second. That's when you really notice beauty. When you're holding a baby, when you're cuddling your dog, when your mind's still, it doesn't half feel good, right? So these are moments of mindfulness, and we can invite them into our day. Simple ways of doing it would be, for example, in fact, now let me tell you something else before we go into the examples. We know that when our mind stops, it feels great. And I invite people to test that for themselves. Secondly, you can't still your mind by trying hard to. If I said to you now, stop thinking even for 10 seconds, don't have a single thought, what's the first thing you're going to do? Yeah, single thought, right? You probably get to 2 seconds. And even the funny one, when I do this in class, sometimes people go, I say, right, let's just take 20 seconds. No one think, just as an experiment, no one think. And sometimes the first thought that people have, I've had people say, oh yeah, I did it. I managed it. I say, okay, not a single thought, no. And then I realize that they've actually had the thought of, I'm doing this. I'm not even thinking. I can get to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's a thought as well.
Yeah.
So we can't just still our minds, right? Anyone who's ever lost sleep knows you can't just switch your mind off, unfortunately. But we can still our minds by doing something a little bit clever. And if you want to do this, if you want to still your mind, I'll show you how to do it in 5 seconds. Take your attention, become very alert right now, and notice that there's breath entering and leaving your body. So really be aware of the sensations of the breath entering and leaving your nostrils right now. Catch it. Next breath. Cool air as you breathe in. Can you sense that? Can you follow it past the throat, the chest? Can you feel your belly expanding, touching your t-shirt? Just be with it. Just ride that wave of attention with your attention. So ride that wave of breath with your attention. And when you do that, your mind becomes still. Because here's the $1 million secret in mindfulness. You cannot pay attention to your breath, the sensations of the breath entering and leaving your body, and think at the same time. It's not possible to do that. So either you're paying full attention to your breath or you're thinking. You're not doing both. It's a long way of answering your question, but how can you invite, so that knowing this, you can now invite mini pauses, mini moments of stillness into your day. When you're at the red traffic light stops your car, you could follow your breath for 1 breath, 2 breaths. If you really follow it, your mind's still. You could do it when you're making your tea. You could really taste the flavor of your tea. You could really notice. Have you ever been camping, Ashley?
Oh, yes. Oh, right. Yes.
Now, you know that moment where if you've been camping, you've ever been on a site that's not got great facilities, the shower's a bit rubbish, and you come home, you get in your shower at home, and you stand there for the first 3 seconds, you close your eyes, you've got the warm water, and you just sort of go, oh my God, that's amazing. That shower feels so good. If you've ever done that, your mind is, before you comment and say, my goodness, that feels amazing, your mind is very still. And so there's countless opportunities in your day, in your life, where you can still your mind. And the more you do that, the more resilient you'll feel, the more peaceful you'll feel, the more you'll notice your surroundings, the better your food will taste, the better that beer will taste, the more beautiful that shower will feel. Everything goes from 2D to 3D. Everything becomes much more rich if you pay full attention to it. I'm not saying walk around in this constant state of mindfulness, being paranoid about tasting everything, drinking everything. But if you can drop some moments in every now and then, cumulative effect is huge. Cumulative effect is where the power is.
It's a shame we've got to finish in 5 minutes. You've got all these comments coming in, great questions as well. Yeah, hi John. Yeah, you've met us in real life. Isn't it good to meet John, Steve?
Yes.
So yeah, people are enjoying all of this. So yeah, fantastic. Hi, Pele, Nisal, and Indy. Pele's got a great question. Have you done? You can pronounce that for me. 10 days of silence and sensation.
Yeah, I haven't done 10 days of silence. I've done a week, which was not fully silence. It was combined with some learning. Yeah, they're great things to do once you've got a bit of experience, I think. They're also more challenging than people think. I think people think that when you go to a retreat and you're very still and you observe what they call noble silence, which is where you're silent for probably extended periods of time. That's pretty tough sometimes. Because I think it's a big challenge to sit and be with your mind and allow anything to come up and really be open to this stuff. And sometimes funny things happen. I can remember being at a silent couple of days, and my mind was so desperate to talk to anyone or see anything or consume, because there's no phone, there's no TV, there's no bar, there's no nothing. And I can remember being fascinated by the fire exit instructions on the wall, and my brain going, just give me something to read. I'm so desperate. I remember laughing, thinking, my mind is so desperate to just not be still or ever be quiet that it's now encouraging to me to read the small print on this bloody fire exit thing. I was like, that's how desperate our minds are to always be on. It's quite a well, I think it's getting worse over time. I read some stats and you can find different stats on this, but they reckon the average person these days actually is thinking between 6,000 and 8,000 thoughts an hour.
6,000 and 8,000 thoughts an hour.
6,000 to 8,000 thoughts an hour. But wait for the best bit.
No wonder when I wake up, I just want to get up. That's crazy.
Well, here's the best bit, right? They reckon up to, and see if it's true for you, up to 90% of those thoughts they reckon are repetitive and or useless.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're not having
I'd say 99%, but hey.
Yeah, it's true, right? There's a lot of clutter in there. And if the more we can step out of the clutter, the more we can reduce the amount of clutter that's in there. It's kind of it's liberating, really.
This is awesome. Look, we're going to have to say goodbye. I'll put you on the spot, all right? And you can say, I need to think about it. But I've spoken to quite a few different people doing similar sort of things to you. Would you be up for doing an hour-long show where I can bring in the different experts and we can talk about this, and we'll do that as a one-off. Thank you. Thank you. That's absolutely awesome. Now, you actually go out to companies like IBM and do all this training. Have you ever thought about doing this for, people that aren't in huge business? So I could come and Indy and Pele and all those people could come. Is that something that you do?
Not currently, but I am very close to doing it. It's
Top man.
Yeah, so up to now, I've been exclusively in businesses, and if you're not in a business, I haven't worked with you. But I think there's a lot of people, people like me, like solopreneur, right? I'm not in a business anymore.
Yeah.
And the lovely thing about, I think the other thing I've realized is that, especially with the pandemic, you can find a teacher anywhere in the world now. You can teach people live on Zoom. It works really well. And you don't need to teach local businesses. I've taught people in Philippines and all over the world. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's coming very soon.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, that's a bit of an exclusive, is it? That's really, I like that. Guys, if anyone's got any questions, then put them in quickly. I've got one more question. I'm going to come back to you in just a second, but I just want to go in and say who I've got coming next week. I got Yewande coming in. and she's a life coach and a sleep specialist. So there's a bit of a theme here, and it's purely accidental, but maybe you two could be on this show. So I won't put her on the spot because I've actually thought about it. But there's a real need for this. Steve, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you very much for coming in. That breath thing, I can't wait till 4:30 tomorrow morning to try that. That's what time I wake up. My mind wakes up, and I'm like, oh, I can do this, and I can do. I'm so excited about what I do. I'm so excited to come in here and do stuff. I wake up, my mind is just going bang, 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 bang. But
if I woke up at 4:30, I'd be asleep by 1 o'clock now.
Oh no, I'm all right until Debs and I maybe sit and watch something on the telly. I'm like that, or I might have a little nap later. That's how I get through the day. Yeah, absolutely. But what I need to do is I need to just stop and take that breath. So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, my last question to you.
There is one question. Sorry to interrupt you. Indy's put a question in. Do you mind if we get to that?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see
Indy
that.
Indy says, "What makes you feel alive?"
And that's Indy, because this is going to be you tomorrow. That's probably why you're watching. So I've got, is it tomorrow or is it next week? I think Indy's next week.
Right.
So what makes you feel alive, Steve?
That's a really good question.
It's great, isn't it?
Feeling alive always coincides with me being present with what I'm doing. For example, it could be playing sport and feeling really alive. It could be being out in nature and feeling really alive. It could be running. It could be sitting, stroking the dog. But it always coincides with me not being lost in thinking.
Yeah.
Not being lost in automatic pilot. The more present I am, the more alive I am.
Love that. Absolutely love that. A great answer. Great answer. Right. So what advice would you give your 16-year-old self, sir?
Don't believe every thought that comes into your head, especially the negative ones.
Ooh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. The stuff that we tell ourselves. We'd have, if we spoke to our friends the way we speak to ourselves, we'd have no friends, would we?
I know. I never would have started a business. I never would have done anything.
Yeah, I love that. Say that again. Say the advice you'd give your 16-year-old self again. Go on, say it again.
But I think I said, I can't remember. I don't believe every thought that comes into your head, especially the negative ones.
Yeah, love it.
It's a great way. One tip to challenge the negative ones, right? Ask yourself this question. If you're having a lot of negative thoughts, ask yourself this question. 2 questions. One, do I know it to be true? Let's say I'm gonna lose my job, someone's gonna get it, whatever, right? Do I know it to be true? Now your mind will probably answer the question with, of course I know it to be true. I wouldn't have had the thought otherwise, you idiot. So then follow up with, and this is the killer question, you add one more word to that sentence. Do I absolutely know it to be true? And guess what? With most negative thoughts, because they imply the future, something that hasn't even happened yet, do you absolutely know it to be true? Probably not.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Love it. Steve, you are absolutely awesome. And just a final thing, Lynn is saying negative thinking can be very destructive. It certainly can. Steve, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
We'll put this show together. Don't worry. We'll have this special show. Not sure when, but we definitely will. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I do a live on Facebook every Tuesday and Thursday. And that is always, I always play the first song is always the one. So if you want to hear that in full, go to my Facebook page, Just Dandy, and I will play the whole song for you. But thanks ever so much for coming on. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we will be back soon. Thanks very much indeed. Oh, but the chimp paradox. Yes, Billy. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks ever so much, everybody, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thank you, Steve. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.